The salty air bit at their faces, a familiar sting that spoke of countless days spent at sea. Each gust of wind carried with it the scent of the ocean, a briny perfume that was both invigorating and harsh. The crew of the Seawolf had grown accustomed to this sensation, their skin weathered and toughened by the relentless elements. The trawler, Seawolf, cut through the waves with a determined grace, its hull slicing through the choppy waters like a knife through butter. The vessel had seen many voyages, each one etching a new story into its wooden frame. Today it moved with a purpose, heading towards the promise of a bountiful catch. Aboard, Captain James Blackwood surveyed the horizon with a practiced eye. His gaze was steady, unwavering as he scanned the vast expanse of water before him. Years of experience had taught him to read the sea like a book, each wave and ripple a word in a language only he could understand. His crew, weathered men of the North Sea, prepared their nets with the precision of seasoned craftsmen. Their hands moved deftly, each knot and loop a testament to their skill and dedication. These men had faced the sea's fury time and again, and they knew that preparation was key to survival. "Another day, another haul," muttered Ben, the first mate, a burly man with a salt and pepper beard. His voice was gruff, but there was a hint of camaraderie in his tone. Ben had been with Captain Blackwood for years, and their bond was forged in the crucible of countless voyages. The routine was familiar, comforting in its predictability. Each task, from casting the nets to hauling in the catch, was a dance they had performed countless times. It was this rhythm, this unspoken understanding, that made them a formidable team. Little did they know this voyage would be anything but ordinary. The sea, with all its mysteries and secrets, had something unexpected in store for them. As the trawler moved towards the horizon, a sense of anticipation hung in the air, thick and palpable. The Seawolf chugged steadily north, towards the rich fishing grounds that had provided for them time and again. The waters here were teeming with life, a veritable treasure trove for those brave enough to seek it. The crew knew these grounds well, each one holding memories of past successes and challenges. Above, gulls cried their mournful song, their calls echoing across the waves. These birds were both a welcome sight and a reminder of the harsh realities of life at sea. They followed the trawler hoping for scraps, their presence a constant companion on these long voyages. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. It was a breathtaking sight, one that never failed to inspire awe, even in the most hardened of sailors. As the day gave way to night, the crew took a moment to appreciate the beauty of their surroundings, a brief respite from their labors. "Looks like a good day for cod," remarked young Tom, the newest member of the crew. His voice was filled with youthful enthusiasm, a stark contrast to the seasoned tones of his shipmates. Tom was eager to prove himself, to show that he was more than just a greenhorn. He was eager to prove himself, his eyes sparkling with youthful optimism. Every task he undertook was done with a fervor that spoke of his desire to earn the respect of his peers. The older crew members watched him with a mix of amusement and approval, remembering their own early days at sea. As dusk settled, a thick fog rolled in, blanketing the sea in an eerie silence. The once clear horizon was now obscured, the world reduced to a ghostly grey. The crew moved with caution, their senses heightened by the sudden change in their environment. The air grew heavy, charged with an unseen energy. It was as if the sea itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The crew could feel it too, a tingling sensation that set their nerves on edge. They exchanged uneasy glances, each man silently acknowledging the shift in the atmosphere. Captain Blackwood, a seasoned sailor with nerves of steel, felt a prickle of unease. He had faced many challenges in his time, but there was something about this fog that unsettled him. It was a feeling he couldn't quite shake, a nagging doubt that gnawed at the edges of his mind. "Keep your eyes peeled, lads," he ordered, his voice gruff but steady. The crew snapped to attention, their focus sharpening at his command. They trusted their captain implicitly, knowing that his instincts had saved them more times than they could count. The sea, he knew, could be a fickle mistress, one moment calm and serene, the next a raging tempest. It was this unpredictability that demanded respect, a lesson learned through hard experience. As the Seawolf pressed on, the crew braced themselves for whatever lay ahead, their resolve as unyielding as the vessel they sailed. The fog clung stubbornly through the night. Dawn broke, revealing a scene that made the crew gasp. Emerging from the mist, shrouded in an ethereal glow, lay an island. It wasn't on any of their charts. "Blimey, what's that?" exclaimed Ben, his eyes wide with astonishment. The island was a spectacle of vibrant green, a stark contrast to the grey sea. Captain Blackwood, his weathered face creased with suspicion, steered the Sea-Wolf cautiously towards the island. As they approached, the fog began to dissipate, revealing sandy beaches fringed by swaying palm trees. Strange, exotic birds with plumage of unimaginable colors took flight, their calls echoing through the air. "Never seen anything like it," muttered old Finn, the ship's cook, his voice hushed with awe. Curiosity warred with caution in Captain Blackwood's mind. The island was undeniably alluring, but something about it felt off, unsettling. "Tom, grab the charts!" he barked, his voice betraying a hint of his internal conflict. Tom scrambled below deck, returning moments later, his face pale. "It's not there, Captain," he stammered. "It's like it doesn't exist." Despite the unease, the lure of the unknown proved too strong. The crew of the Sea-Wolf had heard tales of this mysterious island, whispered in hushed tones by sailors in dimly lit taverns. Stories of an island that seemed to exist outside the bounds of time and reality, a place where the ordinary laws of nature were suspended. Curiosity and the promise of adventure drove them forward, even as a sense of foreboding gnawed at the edges of their minds. They anchored the Sea-Wolf and lowered a small boat. The water was eerily calm, almost as if it were holding its breath in anticipation of their arrival. The crew worked in silence, each man lost in his own thoughts, wondering what awaited them on the shore. The island seemed to hum with unseen energy. It was as if the very air was charged with a kind of magic, a palpable force that made the hair on the back of their necks stand on end. The lush vegetation glowed with an otherworldly light, casting an ethereal glow over the landscape. Stepping ashore, they sank ankle-deep in soft white sand. The sand was unlike any they had ever felt before, almost as if it were alive, shifting and moving beneath their feet in a gentle, welcoming embrace. A strange peace settled upon them. The usual sounds of the sea and the wind seemed to fade away, replaced by a profound silence that was both comforting and unsettling. It was as if the island itself was watching them, waiting to see what they would do next. "Feels like another world," whispered Tom, his eyes wide with wonder. The forest ahead beckoned them with its vibrant colors and the promise of discovery. Each step they took seemed to draw them deeper into a dream, a place where reality and fantasy intertwined. Venturing inland, they found a grove of trees unlike any they had seen. The trees were tall and majestic, their trunks twisted and gnarled in ways that defied logic. Each tree seemed to have a personality of its own, as if they were ancient sentinels guarding the secrets of the island. Their leaves shimmered with an iridescent glow, casting dancing patterns of light and shadow on the forest floor. The light seemed to play tricks on their eyes, creating illusions that made it difficult to distinguish between what was real and what was imagined. Strange, sweet-smelling blossoms bloomed in profusion, their petals a riot of colors. The flowers seemed to pulse with life, their vibrant hues almost too bright to be real. The air was thick with their heady fragrance, a scent that was both intoxicating and disorienting. The air was alive with the murmur of insects and the calls of unseen birds. It was a symphony of sounds that added to the surreal atmosphere of the grove. Every rustle of leaves, every chirp and buzz seemed to be part of a larger, unseen orchestra. "It's like something out of a fairy tale," breathed Ben, captivated by the surreal beauty. The forest seemed to be a place where dreams and reality merged, a world where anything was possible. The sense of wonder and awe was almost overwhelming, leaving them speechless. As they journeyed deeper into the grove, time seemed to lose its usual grip. The usual markers of time, sunlight, shadows, the passage of hours, became meaningless. It was as if they had stepped into a place where time itself was fluid, bending and stretching in ways that defied comprehension. Minutes stretched into hours, or so it seemed. The sun hung in the sky, casting a perpetual golden light that never seemed to change. It was a place where the normal rules of the world no longer applied, a place where time stood still. The sun hung unmoving in the sky, casting a perpetual golden light. The light bathed everything in a warm golden glow, creating an atmosphere of eternal twilight. It was both beautiful and disconcerting, adding to the sense of unreality that pervaded the grove. A strange lethargy crept over them, a sense of languor and contentment. It was as if the island itself was lulling them into a state of relaxation, urging them to let go of their worries and simply be. The feeling was irresistible, and they found themselves sinking to the ground, overcome by a deep sense of peace. "Let's rest a while, lads," suggested Captain Blackwood, feeling an unusual drowsiness. The captain, usually so vigilant and alert, found himself unable to resist the pull of the island's enchantment. He settled down with the others, feeling a sense of contentment that he hadn't felt in years. They settled down at the base of a giant tree, its trunk pulsing with a soft inner light. The tree seemed to be alive in a way that defied explanation, its glow casting a gentle, soothing light over the weary travelers. As they rested, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that the island itself was aware of their presence and was welcoming them into its embrace. They woke with a start, their hearts pounding in their chests. The ground beneath them was unfamiliar, the air thick with the scent of salt and blooming flowers. They looked around, bewildered, trying to piece together the fragments of their memories. How long had they slept? Minutes? Hours? Days? The concept of time seemed to slip through their fingers like grains of sand. Their watches had stopped and their phones were dead, leaving them with no way to measure the passage of time. The sun, still high in the sky, offered no clue. It hung there, motionless, as if mocking their confusion. They shielded their eyes, squinting at the relentless brightness, but it provided no answers. What in blazes is this place? The island stretched out before them, a mix of lush greenery and strange, otherworldly features. It was both beautiful and unsettling, a paradise with a sinister edge, muttered Finn, rubbing his eyes in disbelief. He had always prided himself on being rational, but nothing about this place made sense. It was as if they had stepped into a dream, or perhaps a nightmare. A sense of disorientation settled over them, a feeling that something was deeply, unsettlingly wrong. They exchanged worried glances, each hoping the other had some explanation, some reassurance, but there was none to be found. The island held them in its grip, both enchanting and disturbing. It was a place of contradictions, where beauty and danger coexisted in a delicate balance. They felt drawn to explore, yet wary of what they might find. Days turned into nights, or so they thought. The passage of time became a blur, with no clear distinction between one moment and the next. They lost track of how long they had been there, the days blending into an endless cycle. The sun seemed to rise and set in a haphazard dance, defying all known laws of nature. It moved erratically, sometimes lingering in the sky for what felt like an eternity, other times disappearing in the blink of an eye. The air grew thick with the scent of unknown blossoms, intoxicating them with their cloying sweetness. It was a heady mix, both pleasant and overwhelming, adding to the surreal quality of their surroundings. They explored waterfalls that flowed upwards, their waters sparkling with an otherworldly light. It was a sight both mesmerizing and disconcerting, challenging their understanding of the natural world. The island was a tapestry of wonders, but beneath the surface beauty lurked an undercurrent of wrongness. It was as if the island itself was alive, watching them, waiting for something. They found fruits of extraordinary size and sweetness, their flavors unlike anything they had tasted before. It was a feast for the senses, yet they couldn't shake the feeling that it was all too good to be true. The island provided for their needs, but it was a deceptive bounty. There was always a catch, a hidden cost that they couldn't quite discern. It was a paradise with strings attached. Their compasses spun wildly, useless in this strange place. North, south, east, west, the directions meant nothing here. They were adrift, with no way to navigate their way back to safety. The stars at night were unfamiliar, a jumbled mess in the heavens. Constellations they had known since childhood were nowhere to be found. "We're lost, aren't we?" whispered Tom, his voice trembling with a fear he couldn't quite name. Whispered Tom, his voice trembling with a fear he couldn't quite name. The realization was sinking in. They were truly lost, in a place that defied all logic and reason. lost in time, lost in space, trapped in a paradise that felt more and more like a prison. The island was a beautiful cage, and they were its unwitting captives, struggling to find a way out.